Popular culture studies is one of the most useful disciplines to aid in the investigation and analysis of American history. Self-reflexivity is an extremely important aspect of American studies, and television is highly self-reflexive. The goal of television writing is to create characters that are realistic enough to appeal to a weekly returning audience. Television is inherently self-reflexive because it aims to reflect the concerns and interests of the majority population. When television from another time or place is looked at through a scholarly lens, it can provide invaluable insights into the everyday lives of the people living in that time and/or place.
It's so much fun to watch old TV episodes.
I agree. In addition to getting a look at all the fun clothing and objects, viewers also get a unique insight into the socio-cultural climate of the period of production.
You know what's a really interesting period to watch old TV from?
What time period?
The 1950s and 60s.
Oh, you mean when shows like I Love Lucy and Bewitched reflected many messages about the women's liberation movement?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
The iconic television series I Love Lucy ran from 1951 to 1957. The series presented American audiences with one of the very first examples of a wife deliberately going against her husband's wishes. The series was also based around an interracial couple, with Lucy being white and her husband, Desi, being Cuban.
I think the way in which Lucy's consistent acts of rebellion against housewifedom are meant to expose the absurd restrictions placed on women in a male-dominated society.
I agree, but it's also interesting that whenever Lucy enters the public sphere, she inevitably makes a spectacular mess of things and is invariably forced to retreat and return to the status quo of domestic life. That will begin the next episode.
That is very interesting. Like, remember the September 1952 episode when Lucy and Ethel went to work at a chocolate factory while their husbands took care of their homes? As one scholar put it, these issues were very real to women in the post-war 1950s and were clearly reflected in Lucy's continuous rebelliousness to become part of her husband's world. Although I Love Lucy on the surface makes light of the issues of reality and may cover them up with comedy, they were touching upon them nonetheless and are still noticeable.
Similar issues arise when discussing Bewitched. The difference here is that Samantha Stevens had more freedom to be a functional woman outside the home because she was a witch.
Bewitched was on television from 1964 to 1972. It also featured a mixed couple, as Samantha Stevens was a witch and her husband, Darren Stevens, was immortal. Samantha used magic in each episode, directly defying her husband's orders never to use it.
Some people feel the series was a celebration of societal expectations from a married woman, while others feel it rejects those same expectations.
Do they have those differing opinions because Samantha's status as a witch fogs up her exact place in society?
Most likely. Depictions of witches are a way by which our culture thinks about and grapples with the idea of brilliant women.
So Samantha being a witch could mean that she is a representation of the average woman at the time of production, but she represents a societal inability to handle that much power from a woman?
Exactly.
In scholarly terms, turning on the television or watching the latest movies tells us a great deal about how we view the world. Through watching shows like Bewitched and I Love Lucy, both of which were produced during the second wave of the women's liberation movement, we get valuable insights into both the conditions for women at the time and the societal reception of those conditions and the way they were changing.